All right. For a lot of people, the world of politics today is very stressful. And this is true whether you're on the left or the right or anywhere in between. First thing you have to understand is that, we're a television society, and television and really all media seeks drama. It is entertainment first and foremost, and so any good director really is looking for drama. Now, the drama they're looking for doesn't have to be two sides that hate each other. That's not the only kind of drama. There can be drama in comedy, because comedy seeks to tell the truth in a way that's surprising, and that surprise and different way of looking at things is drama, because then the next, each joke is a setup, and then the punchline is a twist. So the drama is between the setup and the punchline. There's drama in this. What's this guy? This guy's talking about Pop-Tarts. There's nothing interesting about Pop-Tarts, but then when he says a punchline about Pop-Tarts and it's funny, the next time you're like, and he talks about dumpsters, you're like, what's funny about dumpsters? And then there's drama between, because you're eager to hear that. So drama is what they're seeking. They don't have to have hate as the drama, but that's the one they've chosen for now. So we have a lot of stress from that. We have a lot of stress because there's a lot of ego involved, and there's a lot of stress. Mainly the stress is because there's these huge problems, or things that are built to be huge problems, and there's nothing that we seem to be able to do about it. So if you think that Trump is the worst person in the world, and he's like the new Hitler or something, and he's destroying the earth, that's a lot of stress, and there's really literally nothing you can actually do about it. You think you can, but if he was actually Hitler and now destroy the earth, then it would be really hard to stop him. And and has been here and so on, it's pretty obvious that there's tons of things about them that just are complete silliness, and it's not working, and it's so if you're on the side of the people, then you're realizing that they don't have anything that's convictable, and it's really just a show. It's something they had to do for their constituents, and it's actually hurting the election of whoever gets the Democratic nomination. So you have to be realizing that, and then that's stressful. If you're a Republican, it's stressful because Hunter Biden was a crack addict and then given a job by a company that had been first investigated for corruption by the Obamas, and Biden's role in that had been investigated by Obama, and then suddenly it's not okay to investigate the most corrupt company in Ukraine, and why they would hire a crack addict son of the vice president, who was in charge of negotiating with the Ukraine at the time. So there's just nothing good in that scenario. on that side of the aisle. So that's stressful. You see what you and it is the most effective thing called mindfulness. By the Buddha. Letting go of it. So awareness, acceptance, and letting go. That's the first step. That's the first part of mindfulness. Now, this is done at the ultimate individual level. And I told you that I was going to tell you why mindfulness is completely antithetical to the leftist point of view and the leftist movement. And this is too bad because they were all for it in the beginning. They were following Eckhart Tolle and others down this shiny path until they got to this part, and then they realized that their worldview couldn't happen if this vision that is mindfulness comes true, and if people adopt this system of relinquishment and self-help and mindfulness. If people adopt this system of a better mental awakening, then it will completely ruin the leftist ideology. And the reason is because it starts most individual of levels. It's not just you as in you, who you think you are. It's your most inner self. It's how you physically, spiritually react to outside stimuluses. It's being aware of that immediately. So that's the most individualistic thing that you could possibly do is have this, from meditation, have this awareness of yourself at every stressful stimulus. That's really knowing yourself. That's true individualistic awareness. What's wrong with that? The key word is individualistic. Individualism comes from individual awareness. And if you have individualism as the primary unit, then the tribal unit degrades. If you have tribalism as the individual unit, then you can degrade the individual as the unit. So tribalism is where the tribe or group is more important than the individual. And an individual could make decisions that were bad for him or herself, that were but good for the group. And the group can make decisions for the individual that are bad for each individual, but benefit the group. Of course, that can work in tribes in the Amazon or somewhere. It's fine. But when you have, or families or little communes or something like that, but when you have an entire nation, then you're talking about nationalized tribalism, or as we know it, National Socialism. And then you have a huge group deciding what's good for each individual. The problem with that is that at that big level, that decision-making process requires a lot of bureaucracy. And that bureaucracy is made up of a lot of people who are running those social decisions. And then, since there's so many people in that huge bureaucracy, they become a culture in and of themselves that's above the culture they're making decisions from, and that's power. And then you've just eliminated 9/10 or 99% of the population, probably. And so, of course, it's easier with 99% out of the way. It's easier for certain individuals to rise above this new level. Those people rise above, and then maybe they'll have a little room full of people, and then one person will rise above that group, and then you'll have tyranny. So that's how Stalin came into power. That's how Pol Pot came into power. Mao. These guys were his chairman. Mao, chairman. He was just the chairman of the group. Hitler was the chancellor. That's kind of a parliamentary guy who is elected by that group to be the head of the group. So that comes from, all those situations came from tribalism. Individualism leads to the natural thing that spawns from individualism is capitalism. So once you have a solid individualistic awareness, then the natural thing is to build your community through capitalistic ventures where you produce something of value that comes from you, your individual talents and spirit and whatnot, and then you produce it and you trade it in an open market, and that leads to a society of freedom. And of course, there's then the social aspect of that comes from, rather than a national socialism, the social aspect comes from individual socialism. So then you have groups of people who then come back, and because there's nothing wrong with socialism. And in the next segment, I will talk about that and my experience in Colombia working with Venezuelan refugees. And I'm going to talk about why Republicans love socialism. But anyway, to conclude this one, mindfulness is something that cannot be done properly or fully by a leftist because it's antithetical to their worldview, because mindfulness is a way of opening up the individual to be vulnerable and to be aware of its own reaction to stresses, and that awareness is the ultimate individualistic enlightenment. And when you have individualistic enlightenment, you can't, then that leads to individualism as the primary unit, and so you cannot have tribalism as the primary unit anymore. So you can't have socialism. You can't have national socialism anyway. But next I will talk about why Republicans love socialism.